Welcome to the Backpacking Podcast. John Kelly here today by myself, sorta, because right here next to me is a guy that you may recognize. He is the owner, CEO, big head honcho boss from our favorite company, Hilltop Packs, that makes the most amazing storage bags and everything. And we are brought to you by Outdoor Vitals, makers of Performance First ultralight gear. And I want to let you guys know that right now they have up to 27% off of the Shadow Light backpack. So if you want to get your hands on one of those, trust me, they're a fantastic backpack at a great price. Knowing how expensive backpacks are these days, that is a killer deal. Make sure you get your hands on one of those. Ben, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty good, buddy. How's it going?
Going good. It's going good. I contacted Ben, I guess it was 3 days ago or 2 days ago, something like that. And
Time's flying by. Hard to say.
yeah, it's hard to say. But Jeremiah gave me a shout and said there's some stuff going on in the family, some health issues. And so he had to back out for this week. It's always more important to be with your family, take care of your family. So he was doing that. And so Ben graciously said he would be on the show with me today, which is awesome because what we're going to talk about today, we're not going to get into it yet, it's pretty dang controversial.
It is.
So
Probably
the
get
only
cancer after today.
yeah, exactly. So the only request that any of us have today, this is the only request we have. Be nice. Just be nice. That's all we want. Don't get nasty. Be friendly, because this could be a divisive conversation today. Is that fair to say?
I'll try to make it not divisive. There's a lot you can talk about without getting too political, for
Yes.
sure. So hopefully we'll keep it that way.
And
Education.
that's always been the goal of our podcast anyways. We try and keep things as apolitical as we possibly can. Obviously, everybody has a bend one way or the other, but we're going to try and keep it right down the middle today as much as we can. What it comes down to is Ben has been running Hilltop Packs now for what, 5 years? 6 years?
If 5 years, we're working towards our 6th year. I think in September will be 6 years. I think that's right. September.
6 years. Man, that's awesome.
Crazy. It is. I'm actually in the room where I originally started thinking about the company. I'm in the basement of my own house, which is where Hilltop Packs actually started, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I know you and I actually talked months before you ever started Hilltop Packs.
We did.
And I remember
camera bag or something like that.
Yeah,
we talked
about
a
camera bag. It was a camera bag.
Yeah.
I remember you started Hilltop Packs and you sent me some food bags, and I've gotten to watch this company grow from literally nothing, like just an idea. Actually, it was a message to a backpacking YouTubers group.
It was
on Facebook that said, "Would anybody be interested in a Dyneema camera bag?" And that's where it all started. I think that was the first thing that started everything, and it just it's blown up from there, really.
Yeah, at the time, I was just trying to find a way to pay for the Dyneema that I was buying. So I was buying so much to make my own gear. I was like, I have extra stuff. I got to get rid of it. I belonged to this YouTubers group because I had my own stupid little YouTube channel that you guys let me in. And I was just having fun. I had no real intention of really going anywhere with it. But the support of you guys early on was what really kind of pushed the company. There's no doubt about it. YouTube is what kind of launched us, and everybody's support, yourself included. You were a really early adopter. Maybe we talked to you before the name Hilltop Packs was even a thing, possibly.
Yeah,
So
it was really early, and I remember just the first thing I told my wife was I just talked to this guy Ben, and he's wanting to start this company, and I'm like, man, this guy, he's got a good mind. And she goes, "What do you mean?" I was like, he thinks outside the box. He sees what everybody's doing, but he doesn't want to do it the way they're doing it. And so that's always been a really cool thing about your company and you. It's just that the willingness to think outside the box and do things differently.
And there's some things we're doing right now as prices go up that I think we're thinking outside the box. And we've been planning this since like last probably August, September. And we implemented in October with the idea that what's happening right now could potentially happen. And we're actually positioned pretty well. And we can talk about more of that later if you want. But thinking outside the box is something we basically just sit around in a group and just throw ideas out. And everybody knows it could be the craziest, wackiest idea. We're going to write it down. We may circle back to it. We may come back to it in a year. But at some point, it may make sense when there's other things, just sometimes time just flushes things out in a way that maybe you weren't thinking about 5 years ago or a year ago or 6 months ago. And lucky for us, it seems it's worked out.
Well, and I would even say that if I had a motto for Hilltop Packs, it would be throw the box away. because I don't think there is a box for you guys. I think you're
No.
just willing to like try anything, and I think that's huge because the backpacking industry, it's real easy for it to get stale. It's real easy for it to just be standard. This is what everything always looks like. I was talking with Devin Ashby recently, and we were both just talking about how backpacks have kind of become boring. They're all the same. There's really not much different. So how do you change that? And
It,
and
it's
so
difficult.
yeah, so there's just it's just cool to see companies that are innovating and coming up with new things and new ideas. I think one of my favorite things you have are the backpack hangers.
Yeah, that came out of a need to display our backpacks in our shop. I was like, there's no way to hang backpacks on a rack. There's a couple little tricks you can do with a coat hanger, but it doesn't hang real good. I was like, how can I display a backpack in a way it's supposed to look on a rack for a customer to come in and see? So really, we designed it for ourselves. And I was like, I wonder if anybody want to buy these, and we put them on the website, and now we sell so many of them, like almost faster than I can print them, which is we should just get the mold injected, but I like making them ourselves and kind of tweaking little changes as we move along. So we
Yeah.
may mold inject them at some point, but
Well, and if you're somebody who has a lot of backpacks like I do, it's nearly impossible to find a place to put them all. And
yeah,
probably is also because I have a problem. But we won't go on to my problems today. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something else. Okay, so let's get to the topic at hand today, because this is going to be this, like I said, this has the potential to get really interesting from a divisive standpoint, but I don't think either one of us want that to happen today. We just want to be honest
correct.
and share truth and talk about what's going on. So let's start off and let's talk a little bit about tariffs, because whether we
Fun
believe
topic.
it or not, yeah, exact fun topic. It's a pretty popular topic right now in America. But let's talk about their effect specifically on the Cottage brand company.
Sure,
Larger corporations can probably be less scathed by this.
absolutely. And that's a big part that I would actually like to start with because I own a coffee shop, we own a coffee roastery, and we own our backpacking business, which those three things will ultimately be affected by tariffs no matter how you look at it. Big companies, and this goes across every industry pretty much. The big companies, they have teams dedicated to plan for this. They've been talking about it for 6 months, ever since this has been an idea that tariffs might be coming into place. So big companies can absorb this a little bit. They're going to lose, but they know that if they allow the smaller businesses to kind of take the hit, just use the coffee industry as an example. Starbucks, Dunkin', all these big corporations, they can kind of even out or survive the valleys and the dips and stuff like that, knowing that the small local shops probably not going to make it because our profit margins are typically smaller, our expenses percentage wise are much higher, and any small hit like this, like a tariff or even a threat of a tariff or costs going up, it's going to squeeze us out. So those big companies, and again, just using coffee as an example, but it could be any industry. Those big companies are going to swoop in, either buy those small businesses at a fraction of the cost, pennies on the dollar, or even cheaper, wait for them to go out of business. And they just acquire the customers for even cheaper. So that's why you don't hear big companies complaining too much, because they know this is a way to squeeze out competition. And it happens time and time again. It's not always tariffs. It could just be economy. It could be, think about all the big corporations that have survived. You got McDonald's, you got Walmart, you got GE, you got like a million different companies you could think of. They've been around for a long time because they've been able to manage these dips. A lot of them already own their own supply chains. They already own their own, where a lot of the products come from. If you're Starbucks, you make your own cups. You're labeling your own cups. You're making your own lids. You have
Yeah.
you own your own coffee farms. Like, your supply chain is not affected by the same things that my supply chains are affected by. So they just ride out those little valleys and then wait for businesses to kind of go out, and they know they're going to win. So that's why you don't see big businesses really complaining too much, because it is potentially a win for them when the economy takes a hit. They know they can survive. They plan for this. It's a way for them
Right.
to gain market share. So that's how big businesses win when small businesses fail. And with small businesses, a lot of them are afraid to speak out, like what we're doing right now. They're afraid to talk about these kind of troubling times, and they don't talk to each other. They're afraid to put anything online. They're afraid they're going to get trashed. Anything I've ever posted, and you've commented as well, I try to be as respectful as possible.
Which
But
I'll
you
be
need to
honest
talk.
with you, you and I don't agree on everything 100%. Um, but we respect each other enough to go, okay, we can disagree. That's okay. And
Absolutely.
and that's a good thing. I think that needs to happen more often than it does. Um,
Absolutely.
but at the same time, there's a lot of respect that's given back and forth in conversation if you can have that attitude of it. Unfortunately, when you
Absolutely.
get to these topics, sometimes that respect can go out the window.
It can. And I think the difference from, at least for me, is I actually enjoy talking about it. I've been in business my whole life. I mean, I've never had like a regular job. I've had these, valleys, and I've had highs, I've had lows, I've had all this, and it's exciting for me to talk about. So I like it when it's hard. Those are the good times, just like a backpacking trip. Think about it. Your worst backpacking trips are the ones you talk about the most. And I love
Absolutely.
when things get hard in business. That's when I can dig in and really get to work, because just like the big companies are going to ride out and be last man standing kind of thing. That's what I'm trying to do. I know I can figure this out. I know I can survive. It ain't easy. It ain't what people think, but it's a
Hmm.
chance for me to rise above everybody else as well. So that when I talk about it, I'm not just being like, oh, the president this, oh, the president that, because there's got to be some respect there. He is the president, and I have no problem saying that, and I have no problem admitting. I'll just say he's ran 3 times. I voted for him at least once. Can I just at least say that? Give
That's
me a little bit
fair.
of
Say
credit
whatever
here.
you
Give me
want.
a little bit
Yeah.
of credit here. So I'm not really trashing the guy. Like, I like a lot of stuff he's doing for sure. Um, but I have a real problem with blanket tariffs, and I've made that pretty well known. I've tried to do it respectfully. I think targeted tariffs are a good thing, and have helped many industries. Like we've talked, car industry is one of them. Kind of helps keep the U.S. car economy going.
Yeah.
But the blanket tariffs really hurt small businesses, and you can certainly still like tariffs. You can still think it's a good thing, but you have to have the education, or at least have the knowledge in your head that this is going to hurt a lot of small businesses in your town, in your community, in the industries that you love. If you like supporting small businesses, and you like tariffs at the same time, you really got to really support your small businesses. I mean, it doesn't have to be me; it could be anybody.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I get what you're
you're,
saying.
your small town you live in. Walk into any one of those businesses that has been around for more than a couple of years and talk to the owner. How are things going? If they're honest with you, they're not going great because your profit margins are getting squeezed out. I can tell you that last month at RGB, which is our coffee shop, we had one of the best months we ever had since we've opened, and we still lost money at the end of the month. We had to change some pricing because the cost of goods rose in the last 4 to 6 weeks so much. And not all of it's political. Some of it's coffee bean prices going through the roof. And a lot of that is like droughts and floods. So you can't sit here and just blame
Right.
everything. But
Right. Right.
um, the blanket tariffs are definitely not helping small business. If anything, it's helping large businesses squeeze out the small guys. So, I'm saying all this, trying to be respectful as possible, because I don't walk around trashing the president, and that's not my intention either. But I want to educate people of what, when you're standing there telling me how great tariffs are, I'm like,
Yeah.
there's a part you don't know. There's a part of this that you're not understanding, that small businesses, when you go to the store and you see your prices going up as a consumer, well, a month before that, that business already felt that pressure, and they're trying to find out how to survive, and they're probably taking a small hit because they don't want to give you the entire cost. If my costs go up 25%, I can't just automatically turn up my prices 25% because now I'm fearful that the consumer is going to look at my competitor who hasn't changed theirs yet, but maybe they're going to change it next week. So
Right.
there's so
Right.
many things. It's like a light switch going off. So I'm going to have to eat some of that. So now my profit margins are even smaller. I have employees that I want to keep working. How do I keep them working when I'm making less and less money?
Yeah.
So a coffee shop is a great example for me because I don't work there. I just own it, and I have managers that run it. So I have a very thin profit margin between 10 and 15%, which is pretty typical for a coffee shop owner who doesn't actually work in the coffee shop. But
Yeah.
when costs go up 20, 25%, um, we have no profit. And how do you pay the bills without raising prices?
Exactly.
So by the time you notice prices going up at the grocery store or at Walmart, prices have already gone up on your local businesses. And so that's part of the puzzle that people are just missing. And you can still decide you like
Yeah.
tariffs. You can still decide that this is the best thing ever. That's fine. Just make sure you understand that your small businesses in your town, that people that you love and support, are getting squeezed up. And in some cases, maybe that's the right thing. Maybe those businesses don't deserve to be there. I don't know. That's for you to decide.
Yeah.
But that is what's really happening when you talk about a blanket tariff,
Well, can you do
whether
me a
it's a real,
favor real quick? Can you do me a favor
yeah,
real quick? There are probably some
yeah,
people on here that think they know what a tariff. Will you explain to people what a tariff actually
yeah,
is? Because we're talking
absolutely.
about this, but I'm sure there's people going, I'm not even totally sure what a tariff actually is.
Absolutely. And just to give everybody full disclosure of my involvement in all this, so I've been self-employed my entire life. I'm also a board member of our local chamber of commerce. I'm also a board member of our local tourism office. I've been the president of that organization a few times. I'm also on the board of our economic development in our county, and I'm passionate about that as well. So I've been involved in small businesses, even like medium-sized business in our community. So I pretty well versed in this kind of stuff. And last October, when we first started talking about tariffs, a lot of people I was talking to, even business owners, didn't quite understand who actually pays the tariff. And there is only one way to do it. There isn't another way. There isn't a way where the other country pays the tariff. When a product comes into the country, we'll use Walmart as an example. I'm so sorry. Walmart as an example, 70 to 80% of their products come from China. Walmart they act as their own importer. Okay. It has to be a US importer, US registered importer in some cases, depending on the size. That importer pays those fees to the US government. The government collects it as like it's a tax. That business has to decide how much are they going to pass on to the consumer. Do you think Walmart is going to eat 25%? They're not going to. They may
Oh no.
initially, because like I mentioned earlier, they're gonna go slowly. They're gonna let it kind of bake in. They have a little cushion that they can wait for the local small businesses to get squeezed out, because a small business can't wait 2 or 3 months. Their prices just went up 25%. That small business is going to have to figure it out. How do I raise prices now? Because I got to keep the lights on at the end of the month. So the bigger businesses may seem like they are kind of eating some of it, but they have investors, they have people involved. They're not going to lose their money, but it is very calculated how they do it.
Yeah.
So the other country does not pay the tariff. Now there's retaliatory tariffs and tariff wars and all that kind of stuff. You can absolutely say there's nothing going on, but in my mind, in my opinion, this is the part that I'll throw my opinion in here. Targeted tariffs, like I said, certain industries, steel, cars, things like that. Targeted tariffs can save an industry that is already here, that's already supported.
Right.
And
Right.
I love the idea of supporting U.S. companies. But if that industry doesn't exist, to give you an example, like I own a sewing shop, Hilltop Packs. We don't make sewing machines here, those kind of commercial sewing machines. A lot of the fabrics, aren't made here. A lot of them are made in other countries. We can't that quickly jump up and make new factories to all of a sudden make sewing machines and make fabrics. At least I can't. I can't go make a sewing machine factory. All of a sudden, my costs go up. If I got to replace a sewing machine, I got to pay 20% more. If I got to,
Right.
they're just, again, big businesses. Not that they love tariffs, but they're not afraid of this moment. They have some time to figure this out while small businesses get squeezed out.
Yeah.
So
When you're working
you
with
pay the tariff.
billions of dollars, when you're working with
Yes.
billions of dollars, it's a lot easier than somebody's working with thousands of dollars.
Yeah. In the end, you pay that tariff. There is no other way around it. It's if the U.S. puts a tariff on a product, country, industry, whatever, the importer, which has to be a U.S. based importer, they pay that fee to the U.S. government in the form of a tax. And you could say tariffs on taxes. I don't care what you want to call it. It's money percentage wise sent to the government based on what you're purchasing. That importer is going to pass that on to the consumer.
Yeah.
At some point. They're never going to eat. Again, they may decide I'm only going to up it 10% this week. 2 months from now, we're going to do 10%, whatever. You're going to pay it and you're going to feel it. But small businesses, which is what I'm passionate about, which is why I probably here, is we're going to feel it first. You're going to see small businesses raise prices first or go out of business or some combination of both of those. And if you're somebody who loves tariffs, think about your small businesses and go support them. You can do both. You can still love tariffs, go support your local business.
Right.
But at some point, you're going to be like, okay, well, this is 25% more here. Starbucks down the street or whatever, I go to Walmart or whatever. But eventually they're going to raise prices too. They're not going to lose money. Do you understand? Hopefully that makes sense. It's a delayed response on their end because it's calculated. For small business, we can't afford to do that.
So here's the question then. And I'm curious your thoughts on this. What are the long-term benefits of doing tariffs?
Now you get into opinion. Blanket tariffs, in my opinion, terrible idea. I think targeted tariffs are great. I think it protects industries. I think you have to keep that in play. I think you can use it as negotiating tools, especially like steel, wood. I mean, you can go in and target an industry that we can do here. You can't go in and do a blanket tariff on countries. Here's a good example. Colombia. It's where coffee beans come from, right? Well, coffee beans come from all over the world. But there was a threat on tariffs in Colombia. And overnight, every Colombian bean and every major supplier, at least the ones I had access to, sold out within 12 hours. And then the next shipment that came in went from $4.25 a pound. It went straight to $9.25 a pound. So that more than doubled on my end.
That's
and I had to purchase
double.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we lost a couple $1,000s that month because
Even though you had more customers and you had more people buying coffee.
Yeah, just full disclosure. Yeah, I'll just say it. So last month we had one of the best months ever, besides December, because December is a holiday. We do really well at December. Take that out of the equation. February was our best month ever at RGB, and we still lost $4,000. That makes any sense. Keep in mind the roastery and the coffee shop are the same business, so like the coffee bean price is what really ate us alive. But just the threat of tariffs, even though there wasn't a tariff, made everybody buy it and just disrupted the whole supply and demand issue. And prices won't come back down to $4.25. Now they're hovering around $7 for the beans we buy. So it's inflated by at least $3. The good thing about coffee beans is it is a commodity. There's beans made all around the world. It will come down and fluctuate, but it's never going to come back down to what it was. It was very disruptive. Right. It was just a threat.
And it's kind of like the housing market. I mean, the housing market ballooned in the last 2 years. It's not going back down. Prices on houses aren't going to get
No,
cheaper. They're going
no,
to continue to get
yeah.
bigger.
And you can make the argument, and there's people in the coffee industry that say this, that the coffee beans are already undervalued already, that a lot of these small farms and workers in these other countries deserve more money. And they're probably right. Coffee beans are probably historically undervalued, and they should be paying more. We actually go through a company that actually does pay more to legit farms who take care of their workers. That said, it's just a light switch going off where the increase is so fast that small businesses struggle to keep the lights on. I'm kind of fortunate to have a few different revenue streams that I can kind of maybe manage these highs and lows a little better than some people can. But again, big companies are riding this out,
Mhm.
and places like Starbucks and McDonald's is a great example. McDonald's owns farms in 8 different countries. They're not feeling that supply and demand issue that I'm feeling. I have to purchase through smaller importers who, supply and demand is always going to be an issue if there's a threat of something and everybody buys those beans and then the next boat comes in, they're double the price. So
Right. Right.
blanket tariffs to me, in my opinion, are very disruptive to small business for so many reasons. And like I said, I'm all for targeted tariffs, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to blanket tariff an entire country to get your point across. I really don't.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the argument on the one side is that the U.S. gets more tariffs put on them
Sure.
than any other country, and people don't realize how much. I don't have all the
Sure.
numbers in front of me right now, so I'm not going to quote things that aren't. I'm not going to be able to fact check right now, but I was kind of shocked at how much we are tariffed by other countries, and
Absolutely.
and yet we weren't putting those kinds of tariffs on them.
No, but I would counter that with we're one of the richest countries around, and we definitely spending wise, that's a whole other conversation we'd have to hold.
Right.
I have to
Right.
struggle with that too. I'm on board with saving money as government wise. So let's just keep it off the table for a second. But
Yeah.
as a country, we're way better off than a lot of the countries we're
Oh
complaining
yeah.
about that tariff us. They're trying to protect what fragile infrastructure they have. And so you can't blame them for trying to do that. In a lot of cases, it is targeted. It's not always a blanket tariff on the entire country. A lot of it is industry related. So when someone says a certain country has this big tariff on the United States, it's typically a targeted tariff in certain industries. It's not always everything. But even if it was, there's a reason why we're the most powerful country. Think about it. We're interconnected with a lot of different business. Again, this is all my opinion.
Yeah.
But do we want to try to play the same game? They're trying to survive. We've been surviving. We're doing fine. I'm not opposed to targeted retaliatory type targets tariffs. I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah.
But the blanket ones, just look at Canada. I mean, every state in the United States has not millions. I'm sorry, has hundreds of companies that ship direct to consumer in Canada. Now that is completely disrupted. But
Right.
tariffs aside, just the threat of tariffs on Canada has disrupted Hilltop Packs. I can tell you that we usually ship 30 to 50 packages direct to consumer in Canada. We've consistently done it for several years. In the last 6 weeks, we've only sold one. So what does that tell you? Canada is on board with basically hating us right now. So that's
Oh,
another issue. But we're,
yeah,
we're
that
starting a tariff war
and
for no
here's the thing.
reason.
We have our favorite Canadian in here right now, actually.
Yeah.
Our good friend
Excellent.
Salmon Outdoors, and he said, honestly, the most important part, I likely disagree with y'all too, but I love and respect you guys. I hate when people get politics between friends. And then he made he made a couple more statements on here. But he even made the comment here. He goes, it is true. I looked it up the other day. Canada does have much larger tariffs on the states than vice versa. Um,
Sure.
and we've talked about that. I think the real issue here, though, doesn't even have to do with the tariffs. This is this
Yeah.
is this is kind of coming from my end here. I think the biggest problem we have in the United States is the unchecked money that's been spent throughout the years by politicians on both
Absolutely.
sides of the fence.
A hundred
This
percent.
is not a
Yeah,
Republican, Democrat, Independent.
I
This
agree.
is there's no reason why someone who makes $200,000 a year has $172 million.
I agree with you,
That
and
that
I don't know enough about all that stuff. All I know is there's definitely if you're someone who thinks fraud's only on one side, come on, man, it's
please,
on both sides, and we need to
please,
go a little
yes,
harder. I'm all for it. I'm all for going a little bit harder. It's going to get ugly. I do wish it was a little kind of a softer blow, although I don't know how you would do that, but
yeah.
it does seem a bit aggressive all at once. However, no one else has done it. But to think that it's only on one side, come on, man,
That's a
come
lot of
on.
silly right there. That's a lot of silly
Yeah,
right there.
yeah, you're
And
you're interjecting a lot of just hate coming from nowhere. It doesn't need to be there.
yeah,
It's on both
exactly.
sides. Yeah, if you
It's
think only one side's getting rich, the other side is like the only doing good stuff. Come on.
That's not true. Well,
It's
here's the
not true.
other thing. Here's the other thing. And uh, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said uh, people that are mad at them trying to find this money that's being spent poorly is kind of like somebody who goes to the bank and finds out someone was stealing their money, and so the bank finds out who's stealing the money and tries to get the money back, and they get mad at the bank. It's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's a crazy thing where I really feel like it's this terrible unchecked spending by
sure,
politicians and groups and whatever
absolutely,
else. I'm not going to point out any
absolutely.
specific ones, but it's that ridiculous spending that's put us in a position where we have a $32 trillion deficit. Trillion?
Yeah, something has to happen, and that's what I
Yeah.
said. And I'm not smart enough to know how you would do it. I do wish there was a softer blow to get it started, but I don't. I wouldn't even begin to know how to do that. The one thing I'll say is all the noise you see online between your friends and people you know, or just people you're connected to, on both sides, you have people that have made politics their identity,
Yeah.
and they refuse to admit they're wrong. They refuse to even fathom that. Oh man, I might be wrong here. And even if they confronted with the idea that they're wrong, they're so dug in, they're just not going to back off. So
Oh,
people making
yeah.
so much noise, like you said, they're finding a lot of problems here and then you hear people on the left screaming, "Don't take that away," yeah, because they made that an identity, and now they have something to fight against. Not really thinking about maybe this is a good thing. Same thing on the right. You have people on the far right saying, "See, gotcha, we got you over there on the left." Well, just wait till they come for you because it's
Yeah, yeah.
everybody. They're all
It's
doing it. And I hope they follow
there's
through with it.
nobody innocent
I hope
here.
they find it on both sides. That's my
Yeah.
take on that. Isn't just one side.
And my biggest thing isn't even a gotcha. I don't even care who did it. Just stop doing it. Can we get can we get this money under control? That's really all I care about. Like, I'm not one of these people that I don't necessarily want punishment on every single person on the planet. I mean, it's due, it's due. Give it to them. But
We might need a
man,
reset. It's
I,
it, you know,
we just gotta change course is the big
but
thing. And I
my biggest fear, and this is again going back to my opinion.
yeah
Um, we are pretty heavily taxed. At least I think we are. And obviously, I think it's no big shocker that wealthy people and big corporations don't pay the same percentage that we would pay. Like I can tell you what my tax bracket is. I can tell you I pay more than most wealthy people do, just because the way the system works. I just hope that once all this is figured out, we get things under control, that there is a tax break for middle class and just your average worker, and not just big corporations and wealthy people, which is what appears to be going that direction. I don't want to try to speculate because it's not all done yet, but I hope that it benefits all of us and not just the top 1%. I'll just throw that in
right.
there. So that's what I'm hopeful for.
Yeah, well, and honestly, if everything does come under control, it should affect everybody. There should. I mean, that's always the hope, right? That's always the hope. I love what All Things Outdoors just said. How am I going to watch Sesame Street in Iraq? I mean, have you gone through some of these things that the money was being spent on?
I've tried to, but I
Oh,
keep looking at it like, okay, let's get into the big contracts of the big companies. That's what I want to see. Really, I'm all for getting rid of a lot of the crap stuff we're spending on other countries for sure.
yeah,
But I really want to get to the meat potatoes where there's a lot of money and gas oil subsidies. You're talking about drug industry. You're talking about I'm gonna draw a blank here. There's a lot of subsidies we put out there that doesn't gas oil. They make billions of dollars and we still subsidize the gas oil. Why do you think that is? Come on,
yeah,
there's so much more money at the top. Right now we're finding all the money at the bottom. That's great. You're picking the easy fruit off the tree, but there's a lot of money at the top. Might be harder to get, might be a lot of pushback, but there's a lot of money we need to grab, and I'm all for it.
yeah. Well, and realistically, bring us back to cottage companies. Um,
Oh yeah, that's what
it's
we're talking about.
yeah. We'll bring it back around to the cottage
Before I get
companies.
canceled, nobody hate me. I swear I'm a nice guy. I
There's no
promise.
canceling going on here. There's no canceling going on here. But I think that it is important what you said earlier is when the situations like this roll around, that's when we need as consumers, as people who are purchasing things, this is when we want to buy things from our cottage companies because they're the ones that they're going to hurt the most during a situation like this. They're going to be the ones that are struggling during times like this. I remember I had to buy some little things recently, and I went to Garage Grown Gear and I bought
Yeah,
a bunch of stuff, just things I was going to be using this summer that honestly I'd never seen before. I literally I was like, I got a video coming up that I want to do, and I'm like,
there you go.
where can I find some really cool stuff to do that? And I was like, oh, I could go to Backcountry, I could go to REI or something, but I could go to Garage Grown Gear and do it there.
And we appreciate that.
You know?
Yeah, and I think a lot of us companies that sell globally, that sell nationally, sell online, the good ones are going to figure it out and we're going to adapt. And my biggest worry is your small local businesses. I know I'm here representing Hilltop Packs, but
Yeah.
again, really passionate about small businesses in my community. I'm already talking to them. I'm out there walking around. I did it today. I did it this morning. Their profit margins are getting squeezed because prices are not coming down. In fact, they're going up,
Yeah.
and their cost of goods goes up, but they can't raise prices at the same rate. It's that light switch effect. It
Yeah.
lasts 4 to 6 weeks. Prices have spiked up. We can't just change our prices locally super fast, but it's like, how do we pay our bills if we don't do that? If our profit margin goes to zero, how do you pay the bills? Big companies, they're not worried about it. They can ride that out a little bit, let the small businesses squeeze out. So if I can make appeal to anybody, it's your hometown, wherever you're from, small town, big town, doesn't matter. Try to support some of the small businesses as they try to figure this out, because it is not going to be easy. Any of the online companies, obviously, it's going to hurt us too. But there's a bigger audience there. We'll figure it out. But I love people that work in their communities. We have, between our coffee shop and Hilltop and the roastery, I think about 30 different employees that work between the two. And I worry about them. Their costs are going up as consumers, and our sales are all, profit margins getting hit. We may have to let some employees go to kind of offset those costs. And that's where I get really passionate. So my whole angle on this entire conversation is my employees. I want to keep them working.
Yeah.
I
Well,
would
and
take myself.
that's where
Yeah,
our conversation started. Was I'd messaged you and we messaged back and forth, and you made the comment, I may have to drop 2 employees, and if I don't do that, I may have to shut down my business. And
that's it.
and you were like, you said, you even told me, you said, I'm not trying to act desperate or panicky, but it's a reality that when
Yep.
this stuff comes through, that's something we are facing, is cutting back employees, people losing their means of making money to
Yep.
pay bills, and so it does affect a lot of things. It does affect a lot of things.
And I have an awesome crew. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Hilltop or a
Oh
coffee
yeah, you
shop.
do.
A coffee shop, for example. I've had the same employees there for the last 14 months since we've opened. We haven't had to hire any. We've actually hired a few new people, but never let anybody go. Nobody quit on us. Hilltop has the same employees for 5 years. Like we've so people have like one or two people have kind of moved on to some other positions, but not because they hated it. But we have the same people because we have really good people. I do a good job of going out. I headhunt people. I look for people in other industries or other jobs, and I offer them a position just based on how they appear to be working for their current employer. So I'm pretty sneaky about it, but I've
Yeah.
always done it. I've never put out a job application. I never posted anything anywhere. I just go find the right people. So I'm very passionate about keeping those people around. And sometimes those emotions kind of get all wrapped up into my decisions and my opinions, but that's it. That's it.
According to
Right,
Salmon,
Trevor.
you're gonna have to fire that Trevor guy.
Do you know the story behind Trevor?
Now
Do you
you'll
know
have
what
to
that
tell me the
is?
story about Trevor.
I'll make it fast. So Trevor, Devin from Canada, he, I think 2 different times, he actually sent us money and said, "Hey, I just want to do something, pay it forward." I think the first time he bought chocolate covered coffee beans from us that we were putting in orders for customers for, like, I don't know, a couple of days, maybe a few weeks. I forget how much money he sent us, but it was a substantial amount that he bought all these coffee beans for people. So it was really cool for him to do that. But then in the future, he did it again, where he actually paid for people to get a cup of coffee. And that time we did this big cutout of Devin, of his face, and it even had his name on it. It says, "Thank you, Devin." So we're making customers had a free cup of coffee, and it said, "Thank you, Devin." We're taking pictures, putting it online. Well, Steve, who worked for us at the time, was doing the video for it, and he kept calling him Trevor, even though he's holding a sign that says Devin,
Oh, that's
and he kept
hilarious.
saying. But he started off the video like, "Our really good friend from Canada. We love this guy. He's, really close to him." Like, just went all in, like they were best friends, and kept calling him Trevor. And we're like, and we do everything in one take. We don't ever let any of our people do
Oh,
a
I
second
know.
take.
I know. I've seen
Yeah,
the videos.
yeah.
They're fantastic.
So we're like, it's Devin. He goes, So it's been a running joke, Trevor, for that entire time. Fun fact now, ever since Devin got married, he hasn't done that since. So Devin has not.
Suddenly
Somebody
that
shut
money's
that down.
getting used somewhere else, probably.
Yeah.
No, I've been to Hilltop Packs just a
Yes, you
few
have.
years ago, and man, they are hilarious. It is the most sarcastic,
Brutal. Brutal.
funny, yeah, brutally sarcastic, funny, friendly, loving group of people, and
They are.
it was a lot of fun getting to hang out that day up there. You even let me get on a sewing machine for like a couple seconds.
I did. We had to throw that machine away.
I know.
It was,
I felt awful. I'm glad they weren't doing tariffs back then.
yeah.
Um, that would have been an expensive sewing machine. But no, I mean, honestly, man, like that right there kind of puts everything into perspective too. There's people
That's all I'm
involved.
trying to do. You can
There's
make your own
people
decisions.
involved.
You can have an opinion. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a bigger picture that you're looking at that works for you, but small businesses will suffer through this entire thing, and a lot of them won't survive. That's the reality of it.
Yes.
That Devin is not broke.
So Salmon Outdoors, just let us know. Devin is now broke.
That's it. We'll send you
That's
some
fantastic.
coffee as soon as the tariffs are lifted around
There
here.
we
I'm
go.
just joking.
There we go. Chocolate covered beans.
That's it.
Well, and really, I mean, as we've talked about this, and this wasn't meant as something to have people suddenly feel sorry for Ben,
No,
or
nope,
this
don't
wasn't
feel
to
sorry
make
for
you
me.
angry at the government or angry at it. It's more just for education of this is what's happening.
I've
That's
had a
it.
very lucky life. Don't feel bad for me at all. I've been very fortunate. I've had early success. I've worked hard. I have no problem working hard, but I've had a lot of, I'll call luck in my life that it just kind of fell in front of me. I think my eyes were open enough to notice the opportunity and I jumped on it for sure. But I have no doubt I've been very lucky. So don't feel bad for me. But again, I work with a lot of businesses in our community and I see it and I already see what's happening in just a few short weeks. And it's not a political thing. They're on both sides of the aisle. Like, and they're
Right.
like, what do we do? Like, we may not be able to pay the electric bill next month. What do we do? I've built multiple streams of income over here, so we're okay. I'm certainly not rich. I give most of the money to my employees, and we can talk off camera how I structure all that. But I don't need to have a lot of money. I have a small house. I have an old car. Like I don't need a lot. I need motorcycles. I do need motorcycles. I need motorcycles. But other than that, I don't live an extravagant life or anything. So don't feel bad for me. I'm good. I'm good. But I want to help small businesses somehow. A
Yeah.
lot of them are not doing very well.
Yeah. And I think of even some of the small cottage companies that are going on right now in the backpacking industry. I think a Chicken Tramper, they're really started to hit their stride in the last couple of years, but there's still that fear of,
Yep.
man, how's this going to hurt these guys?
Yes, as far as the backpacking industry, a lot of the fabrics and stuff that people are already buying, they're already here, so there's no tariff yet. Over the next few months, as things sell out, you may start to see some of that kind of affect it. But even just the threat of a tariff we're even talking about is driving costs up, even U.S. costs. I keep going back to the coffee shop because we make purchases every single week, so we see it really fast. But our syrups we use, our flavoring syrups, they went up about, I think, 8 to 10% back in January. They went up 22% last Tuesday. And that's just within a few months. That's just the flavoring syrups.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's that, and that's pretty common. And that's a U.S. company. That's not even outside the country. That's not, I don't know what all their inputs are. I'm not sure where their bottles come from, but they brag about being U.S. made. But I'm sure their costs are going up, which is why they have to raise their price on me. I have to raise my price on the consumer. So it's a domino effect. It's not always just the tariff coming in. It's that threat of tariffs disrupting everything, causing problems. So
Yeah.
again, I'm coming from a small business angle. I don't want to argue with anybody as far as what's good for the whole country. And long term, maybe small businesses don't need to be here. I don't know what the thought is, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah. Well, all things outdoors, Jeremy, he wants to let you know that you need to drive your motorcycle to the Daniel Boone Byway.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Of course,
He needs to buy a motorcycle too.
you might need to bring a dirt bike for that one because I just rode with him on that thing this past week, and I don't know if a regular motorcycle is going to appreciate.
Well, I have an
that
adventure
too
bike.
much.
I did a lot of backpacking trips on that. So I have an adventure bike. It's not a dual sport. It's a little heavier than a dual sport, but it's got off-road tires. It's got all the protection on it. I can load it up. I do a lot of camping trips on that thing. I just don't film it because it doesn't really fit with our theme at Hilltop. But I love that. I'll send you a picture. It's pretty
You need
pretty
to.
sweet.
You need to. I want to see it because I went with him like last weekend or weekend before, and man, he's actually got video of me going over my first hill and my mouth just wide open because I'm like freaking out, like we're gonna go through
Yeah.
that, So fun stuff. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we had we had another comment up here earlier that has nothing to do with what we've been talking about, but we could both answer this question. The question is, and are we still rocking wool socks this summer? This will be my first warm season getting out on trail.
I wear them every day. I have them on right now. Actually, can you see my foot? I wear them to work every day.
Oh, nice.
Year round, man.
I was gonna say I'm wearing alpaca socks right now.
Alpaca. That's it. Every day.
I've got alpaca socks on right now.
That's all I wear anymore. Every day.
Yeah.
I have thick ones for winter, thin ones for summer.
And my feet don't smell as bad when I wear those. You can
Nope.
wear the cotton
Well,
ones if you
your
want,
feet.
but yeah,
I don't
my
know if your
feet are-
feet don't.
they're
That is so
nasty.
stupid.
I'm not gonna talk about my feet. My feet are gross. But in all seriousness, man, to just kind of we'll kind of wrap up the tariff talk here and move
Sure.
to something else. But uh, it definitely is affecting a lot of people, and it's going to. And I'm hoping this isn't a long-term issue. I'm hoping things with this can clear up quickly. Again, I think it comes down more to responsibility of the people that are in power to close the wallet of the United States a little bit and stop
I
spending
agree
so
with
much
that.
money on
Absolutely. I
silliness.
think we can all agree on that for
So,
sure.
yeah. So okay, now let's talk about something different for a second.
Sure.
Um, let's talk about Hilltop Packs a little bit because just about, I guess, has it been 2 years now since Apex Giants started? Has it been around that long?
Yeah. Let's see, 2020. Yeah. 3 years, maybe about
3
3
years.
years.
Okay. So why start Apex Giant and not just add that stuff to Hilltop Packs?
So I'm, friends with some other backpacking companies, and I wanted to make some products that they could also sell on their website, help them generate some income. So I didn't want to label the metal stuff we were making with Hilltop Packs. I wanted to separately label it with something else because we don't make that stuff in house. I design it myself. We send it to local machine shops in our county. A lot of it's, well, most of it's made here in our county. And so I'm helping support our local machine shops, and then I get to sell it to another company where they can sell something that maybe they didn't have access to, like a trowel or something like that. They can make some money. Of course, we make money. It all works for everybody. So I wanted a separate name. That way, like say, we'll use Devin's company, Backcountry Exposure, his business. Like, if say he wanted to sell our trowels, how silly would it look if it said Hilltop Packs on it? Him selling Hilltop Packs trowels, while it could work, it's a lot better if it has a separate name where it completely separates itself. It is a separate entity altogether. It's a legally structured separate entity. I have a separate business partner on that handles the business side of things. I just do the design, the product, and the website, and some of the social media stuff. But that's why we just wanted to separate it so we could sell them separately in different places.
That's interesting. So basically, Apex Giant is metal, like titanium and aluminum
Yeah, and
products.
about 90% of the stuff we sell there, we do make ourselves. So I mean, we design it, we make it here in the U.S. There are some things on there like our cook pots we can't get made here. We tried for like 2 years to get
I
cook pots.
remember that. Yeah.
We were asking every machine shop on the planet, and like people wouldn't even give us, a lot of them wouldn't even give us a quote. The one company that gave us a quote, they're like, we can get the price down to $80 for a 750 milliliter pot, but you have to order 10,000 of them. I was like, we only going to sell for,
$80?
yeah, we're only gonna sell for like 40, 45. Like, how does that,
What?
like, so yeah, so you cannot get that made in the United States. So
No
it's something
chance.
that's already in the market. So we went to some of our suppliers we use in China, and we said, here's what we need. What do you have? And it's very similar to everything else. But we needed something to sell because customers wanted cook pots and spoons and sporks, and that's just something we just could not get made here. But all the other stuff, the trowels, the dog bones, the speed hangers, all that's made right here in the same county that our Hilltop Packs is at. So, but we use local machine shops. We could get it made cheaper at some other companies around the country, and we can certainly get it cheaper in China. But we've thought we can get the price point to a decent place, and everybody kind of wins. So
Yeah. Well, and going back to what we talked about just a little bit ago, with situations now, it may not be as cheap to go do it
right.
overseas like it would have been before.
Yeah, we want to make as much stuff here as we can, and I try to practice what I preach as far as purchasing USA made stuff. Our coffee roastery, the coffee roaster is a US made coffee roaster, the machine that makes there's very few companies in the US that actually make a coffee roasting machine big enough for what we needed, and we found one, and that's what we used. The machine that makes our wallets, our wallet, the CNC tabletop CNC machine, that's USA made. Our sewing machines, they all came from other countries. We just don't make those here, so I try to practice what I preach as much as I can. But there is a price point where like I can't afford that. It just doesn't make sense. So I kind of
Yeah.
get it to a consumer. There is a price point where like the story isn't worth it anymore. Like, okay, I can get this over here for this price. It's more of a commodity anyway. It's nothing special. The price point, the story isn't good enough to override the high price.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Unless you're
I
paying
get that
full market.
100%. I get that 100%. I've got a bunch of your stuff. Like I've got two knives. I've got the dog bones, which the dog bone is one of the best creations you guys have. Do you want to explain that one a little bit? Because I love the
Yeah.
dog bone. I think that was a great one.
And I'll tell you how I started it, and you can actually do this at home. So I was trying to find, first of all, my brain is full. It's a big head, but it's full of stupid crap that most people don't need. And to store anything else in there, it's not going to work. So I never learned how to tie knots. I can't do it. So anytime I go to hang my food in a tree, like down a dolly sod, you pretty much have to do it in West Virginia. bears everywhere. You have to hang your food. And so anyway, I didn't want to tie knots. I kept getting lines stuck, or I was just fumbling around. And then I hike in the wintertime, so my hands are always cold. I was like, how can I do this and cause and like lock something in the line that doesn't require a knot that's easy to get in and off? I started using a washer, a big old like 1 inch, 1.5 inch washer. And I was looping the string through that and snapping it around, but it was too hard to get back off. But that's what started, was just a washer. So you can use a washer, just know that it's
Yeah.
harder to get back off. It's easy to get on. It's hard to get off. I was like, there's gotta be something easier there. And I came up with a bunch of different designs and looks. And I was trying to think, how can I make this? And then we have a bunch of laser engravers in our shop, and they sent me samples, and it was a sample of a dog collar for a dog in the form of a dog bone. I was like, I wonder if that would work. And I drilled a bigger hole in it, and I stuck it through, and it worked perfectly. I said, we got a name, we got a product, we got a design. Right there it is, the dog bone. And we've sold thousands and thousands and thousands of those things.
Yep.
It's mind-boggling how many, but you don't have to tie a knot. It's easy to slip in, easy to slip back off. Yes, you can use a stick you found in the woods. Absolutely. You don't need any of our stuff. We know that. We just hope you want it, and hopefully it solves a little bit of time, or makes it a little more convenient, or makes it more fun. And just looking at a piece of gear with a photo on it is fun, or something easier like the dog bone. We want to make it a little bit better, but it's definitely not something you need. But I'll never go hiking without it. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, and for people wondering what the dog bone is, if you've ever done the PCT hang for your bear bag, if you use those, a lot of times you can use a stick as like a toggle. Well, the dog bone is that toggle, and it's made in such a way that it's super simple to use. It weighs less than an ounce. It's just such a good thing to have. One of the things for me for backpacking is I want efficiency.
Yep.
I want it to be lightweight, but I want it to be efficient. I want it to be something that when I'm out backpacking, I can use it quickly. It doesn't take a lot of brain power to make it happen, because I want to just get to camp, get set up, and sit down. I want to relax. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to eat some food, and just enjoy the time. And things like that are such a great item. And your tree hangers that you have. The little S hangers.
Speed hangers?
Yeah, speed hangers. Yeah.
That was another thing. We were trying to find a way to, mainly for my water filtration system, I wanted to be able to hang it up really quickly at camp, or get your backpack off the ground if it's raining. Something fast, something you didn't have to tie a knot, something you didn't have to clip or adjust. And so we came up with the speed hanger idea. And I've seen some other like stakes and some other items where, like for your tent, you could just loop around a few times and kind of anchor it in, or even like several different products like that. But I wanted to find something with a cool design that would easily hang multiple things off of it. And so we made this little, it looks like like an anchor on one side, or a T, whatever you want to call it. You just loop around at least once, maybe twice if you want, and it'll lock in most lines. So you wrap it around the tree, hook it in, and then you have a little S hook that hooks on your backpack or water filtration system. And again, we sell thousands of those too. So those two
they're great.
Little sleeper hits. I mean, we first talked about the dog bone and put it out there. People hated it before they ever saw it. We got so many comments of like, if you can't tie a knot, you shouldn't be in the woods. I'm like, I'm not sure those two things go together, but okay.
No.
So I was like, I've never tied a knot in the woods, and I'm doing just fine. Not a fancy knot anyway. But so we sell so many, it's crazy, because people realize how faster it can be, especially in the wintertime when your hands are cold and you just lose all dexterity. It's easy to kind of slip in and slip right back off. But the speed hanger is the same thing. You don't have to do any special knots, loop around, done, move on.
Yeah, and that's the thing I love about what you guys are doing there at Apex Giant and Hilltop Packs. You just come up with gear that I like, double-sided pockets, where when you're putting gear and you need stuff to go on one side, one to go in the other, and
the battery, the
battery bags, those are great too. Yeah, my electronics bag is a double-sided bag, because my battery bank is always hard to fiddle with when you got cables and stuff in there. So I'm able to put the battery bank in one pocket and the cables in the other, and get things in and out a lot easier. Again, just efficiency.
Yeah, it's like with mine, I use the same thing. So I have my battery brick on one side, and I keep the one cable that I use the most in there with it. So when I grab that, that's the only thing that comes out with it.
Yep.
My other cables and stuff that I need, or whatever else, is on the other side. So if I have to empty the whole thing, I can do that. But yeah, same concept, just to make it a little bit easier and faster is the goal.
Efficiency is everything, especially when you're backpacking, and you don't, everything that takes longer takes time and takes daylight, and don't want to lose those things when you're out there backpacking. Now, I want to take the last few minutes here, and I want to give you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about a new project you've got going on that's going to be going on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Why don't you fill everybody in on what that is?
Yeah, so at Hilltop Packs, we have talked about doing some kind of podcast. I love watching your podcast. I watch anytime I see it pop up, and I love commenting, and I get a big kick out of that. And we wanted to find some way to do like a live stream kind of thing, more of an interactive live stream, but not make it all salesy. So we can have some fun and maybe connect with our audience and connect with people, and maybe incorporate some other companies. And we ended up talking to Chat over UGQ, and basically came with this idea that we've had for a while
Okay,
to do
okay.
a
Before
live.
you go on, we got to figure something out today.
Okay.
How do you pronounce his last name?
Oh, I have no idea. I just
It's
call him Chad
it,
UGQ.
that dude will not even tell me how to pronounce it. I've asked him a dozen times. How do you pronounce your
Yeah.
last name? He goes, I don't know. It's Hou. It's Houghton. Is it Houghton? 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 If
Probably
anybody
how
knows, if somebody knows,
I'll
please
ask
let
him
us
tonight.
know. Because
I'll ask him
I'm
tonight.
dying here. I got to figure out how to spell his last name. But anyways, I just had to say
No,
it because I
yeah,
got to know.
I'll find out tonight for sure. I'll let you know. I'm not sure he's gonna
Yeah,
give me an answer either, though.
he
He
won't.
actually came down here and spent a couple of days with us here at Hilltop. He's about 5-6 hours away. He actually came down and spent a few days with us at our shop, and he showed him some of the machines we use because he's probably going to buy a few of the same things that we use, just in a different application. And we had a good time. We went to our coffee shop. We had entertainment that night. We had a food truck outside. We had a really good time and bonded pretty quickly. So we talked literally almost every single day. Our minds are kind of the same where we just want to go, go, go. And not many people
Right.
keep up with that. It's a lot to deal with, and I get it. I think even we backpacked, I probably talked way more than I probably should have. But I just passionate about this kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be my business, but it could be anybody's. I just get super excited. But the live stream, it's not a podcast, it's a live stream. The concept is, and it's changed a little bit. Our initial idea was we were going to do like a trivia thing. We asked guests to answer different questions. That ended up not being that exciting. We weren't really having that much fun with it the first time we tried it. So last week, which was only the second show, we decided there was 4 hosts. It was me, Chad, Tim Buckley, who works for Hilltop, and then oh, my alarm's going off. And then another guy last week was owned a hammock company. That was pretty cool. And tonight, Devin, who's in the chat, is actually going to be hosting with us tonight. So we'll have 4 different hosts tonight. The idea being each one of us hosts comes up with a question, and we bring people out of the chat and we post the link, and they can join the live stream with us with their videos. So turn the camera on, and you're right in there with us. We're all going to ask you the same question throughout the entire show. We're going to ask new guests every 5 minutes or so, and we can change the questions a little bit if we want to. But it's been a lot of fun just getting to know some of these people that follow us, that comment on us on our videos. Very interactive. It's not a salesy video. We're not talking about gear. I mean, our own gear. We will, but if there's a question about it, but we're not trying to sell you anything. It really is just a way to kind of connect with our audience through video, and just, you never know what's going to come out of that. And that's kind of our goal, is just make a better, stronger connection. It's hard when you're a company who's just ships stuff to the customer. You don't get to talk to them. This is kind of
Right.
one way we get to interact with them a little bit.
Well,
Does that
and
make sense?
I think it's great you're doing it with Chad because both of you, your minds never stop. I can
No.
tell you that I've never had a conversation with Chad that went less than a half hour,
Yeah.
and I've
Well,
had
funny
many
story
that
about
have
that
gone
too.
multiple hours in
Well,
conversation.
we never talked before. Now, we knew of each other. I think we even emailed a few years ago, just a simple email, but I passed them off to my brother to do some business stuff, and they took care of it. But so I never really talked to him. And then like a month ago, he sent me a message on, I think, Instagram. He said, "Hey, I have a question about a sewing machine. Can I call you?" So I sent my number back, and he called me, and we talked for 2 hours. And then he asked me the question about the sewing machine. So it was
Yep.
like 2 hours into we're like, oh, wait a minute. So we got along really well, really quickly. Definitely a very motivated guy, wants to build something really cool for him and his family, which I really respect. He's willing to work hard to do it, which is cool to see.
Yeah, he's doing a
Well,
great
business
job.
owner.
I
He
think
is.
I told you before this podcast started. My 2 favorite quilts are Outdoor Vitals and UGQ. And there's a very distant second, or a very distant, I guess, third at that point. But those 2 are my favorites. And that says a lot. Chad's doing awesome stuff. Real quick before you get off here, one real quick question's coming at the end of these too. We're gonna do some
Go ahead.
comments, but
I'm good for time.
Low Fresh just says, "Man, I love this Ben guy."
We appreciate, he's always been around. We appreciate his support too. So there's always comments and stuff like that. We really appreciate that. And
Yep.
that's what we're after. We want more connection with our customers and our audience. And even if you buy one thing or nothing, I love that. I always see his name pop up everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. And then Drooper said, "I make sure to tie enough knots that I curse myself out in the morning. This dog bound sounds great." So you might
Yeah,
be getting a new purchase here real soon from him. Um,
absolutely.
the outdoor dog and hiking girl said, "Good evening from the Netherlands."
She's awesome. You guys got to check her out. Her channel. It's a lot of fun to watch. So
It
her
is.
accent and stuff is pretty cool too. You got to watch that.
It definitely
I
is.
won't even try to do it.
Um, Devin thinks he knows the answer to the question of the pronunciation. He says it would likely be Houghton. He said, I went to school with a girl with the same name.
Yeah, but he's
So,
Canadian, so who knows? Yeah.
well, Michigan's practically Canada. I
Oh,
mean, there's
true.
parts of Michigan that are further north than Canada. So, I
True.
mean, there's that. All things outdoors, a creative not mind never stops.
True.
Never stops. So, and then Kevin Munson says, what's the YouTube channel, Ben?
So our Hilltop Packs YouTube channel. So you go on the YouTube channel. It'll be there tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to try. We've also do it on our broadcasts to both YouTube and our Facebook page, but I know the YouTube one definitely works. We're going to try to do it on Instagram at some point, but connecting all those. Listen, I'm old. Learning new tricks gets a little tricky. So I'm going to try that at some point. But tonight, definitely YouTube for sure at 9 o'clock Eastern time.
And I got to watch the first one, and I thought it was hilarious. And apparently, that wasn't a good one, from what you've told me.
It was a good start, but we knew we were failing. It was mostly my part with the trivia questions. I thought I had like 1,000 questions. Turns out I had like 8, and they're all the same. Just different ways to ask the same question. I used AI because we had this idea like 3 years ago. Let's do a trivia show. Like, how do I come up with all the questions? I had no idea. Well, I went to AI. I used Google Gemini, of course, ChatGPT, and I said, give me 100 questions. I kept doing it over a couple different ways, and I was like, this is great, but I didn't look at them. So we're doing the show. I'm like, oh my God, these are all the same. I was panicking.
Oh, but it was a fun show. It was
me.
a fun show. And like I said, the guys who were on there, I mean, it's going to be funny. I mean, Tim alone.
Yes. Tim is awesome.
I mean, Tim should have been, I don't know how he didn't end up being an actor in some sitcom somewhere. That to this day, I don't understand.
Having him part of it is having him be part of Hilltop is special to me. I mean, when I met him, it was just kind of a fluke thing. He messaged us and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in the area. Can I stop down Hilltop Packs? And is there any place to hike nearby?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. We'll be open. We'll be there. Can I go with you?" I just invited myself on the trip.
Yeah.
And so we hit it off immediately. And, really anybody that talks a lot, I'm going to get along with you just fine.
Yeah.
And then by the end of that trip, I already knew I was going to offer him a job. I didn't tell him yet, but as soon as he went back home, at the time he lived in Ohio, and I think he went home and I sent him a message and said, "Hey, I decided, 5 minutes in that I was going to hire you, but are you interested in a job?" I said, "I can't pay a whole lot yet, but, I think we could start something here."
And this is how the spokes model for Hilltop Packs became a job.
3 years ago, we call him our gear pro. We both laugh about that. It's like he's a pro. He's a gear pro. He's like, I was like, I know, but it's just, I'm saying it sarcastically when I say it. I love calling him a gear pro.
I really think you should call it spokes model. That's personally my opinion on it. Because I mean, everybody knows that when they think of Hilltop Packs, they think of Tim's stunning good looks.
They do.
That's what it is. So, real quick, anything else that you have that you want to share with people for them to check out, or anything before we get off of here today?
Something we've been working on since last year, and I mentioned it kind of earlier. Our new fabric we're using, the D50T. I love it. We have been searching for a different fabric to kind of start moving away from the high cost of like Dyneema and even like Ultra, and even some of the Eco Pack is a little pricey at times. But we started last year trying to find an alternative. We went through several different companies, went through several different versions, tested things out. It was either too heavy or it was just, too light, or it wasn't waterproof. There's a million different things. And we kept talking to people over a challenge sailcloth with what we wanted. Here's the weight we want to try to hit. Here's the strength we want to try to hit. Here's the water. We want to be waterproof. And they were trying to develop something as well. And they kept working on things at the same time. We were looking for things. And we probably went through, 10, 12 different types of fabrics from different companies. Ultimately came back to Challenge Sailcloth, and they found something for us after we tested several things through them as well. That's how we landed on the D50T. We wanted to replace the DTRS 75, which we were using before. We're super happy about the quality control. There's maybe one roll out of 20, 50. I don't know how bad this was, but occasionally we'd have these batches where it was bad adhesive on the lamination on the fabric. And it was, there wasn't a lot of returns, but it was enough for me to be like, something ain't right here, and we can't control it, and we can't catch it, because it doesn't happen until months after the product leaves the shop.
Right.
Because you don't see it. And it was a little noisy too. So I wanted to find something to replace that. So this D50T is a little bit lighter. It's actually way better lamination. It's the same laminations on the Eco Pack stuff and Ultra. And so anyway, we've been working towards that being one of our main product lines. Of course, we wanted to test it out. We started like last June or July, August, something like that. Tested for about 2 months. very happy with it. We launched it, I think, in October, and we haven't had any problems with it whatsoever. And we're replacing a lot of our food bags with it, dry bags. Now we still sell Dyneema, of course, but our whole point of everything was we had a suspicion, or we thought prices would continue to go up. We got to find a more affordable option for people who still want to have handmade stuff in the United States. It's high quality, it's still waterproof, it's customizable, and all these things. So we had things in mind that we want to try to accomplish with it, and it checked every box. Launched in October, I think it was. And within a few months, we were up buying so much of it, we were able to get the price down a little bit. So in January, we lowered the price by about 15%. So DTR 75 was at a certain price point, and when we launched the D50T, we had the same price point.
Right.
At the volume we were selling it at in January, we lowered the price by about 15%, and which was pretty big for us. It's like, we don't need to make $1 million off people. We just need their support. We need some money, of course. We don't need all of it.
Right.
So we ran that for a little bit. And after running more numbers, we last week we decided we can lower these prices again when everything else is going up. Dyneema's going to keep going up. Eco Pack's probably going to go up. There's a lot of things that are going up, but this D50T is hitting a price point that we know we can go even a little bit deeper in that discount. And I'm not trying to make it say it's a discount fabric, because we love it. It's working really. I've actually transferred everything over. I even made a backpack out of it, which we're not selling yet, but we may in the future. So as of yesterday, we dropped it another 10%, and some of them actually 15% again. So we're between 20 to 30% down lower than what DTR 75 was, which was already cheaper than Dyneema. So it depends on the product, but it's a pretty deep discount off of Dyneema using the new D50T. And if you're looking at the 2.92 Dyneema, it's actually lighter. If you look at the 1.43 Dyneema, which a lot of food bags are made out of, it's only slightly heavier than the Dyneema version, but it's a fraction of the cost. And we're going to keep working those numbers to see if we can't get it down even lower over time. It just takes time, and of course we got to sell volume and all that kind of stuff. If we're not selling it, the price might go back up. But if we can sell it at volume, at scale, we may be able to get the price down even more. So we still want to be able to provide the same service. It's still got a 5-year warranty. No one else does that. We're doing a 5-year warranty now, retroactively. So if you got a bag from 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something's wrong with it, send it in, we'll fix it up or repair it, get it back out to you. That's pretty much unheard of in an industry. But the big thing for us is the new fabric. We're leaning into it, and we're going to lean into it pretty hard. We've actually moved more products over to it solely. We used to print 2.92 Dyneema for food bags. We actually stopped doing that altogether because it's hard to get anyway. And it's like $45 a yard or some crazy price anyway. So charging the customer, it's just the price points, it's not making sense. Like what they're gaining and what they're paying, even if they still want to pay it, I don't feel good about it. This has given us a much better price point that I feel good about, to give you an option. You don't have to spend as much, but you can still get a good high quality product with a 5-year warranty that no one else is doing. Does that make sense?
Awesome.
That was a lot of words. I probably could have ended that in 2 sentences.
Well, hey, what a great way to end this thing, though. If you guys get a chance,
some time.
Get over to hilltoppacks.com. Get over there right away. Check out what they've got going on. They are doing some awesome stuff, and they're always innovating. So make sure you check out Hilltop Packs over at hilltoppacks.com. And for myself and this guy right here, Ben McMillen, we will catch you guys next time.
Thank you, buddy.